A $500 versus $5,000 Shopify launch. Which one wins? Most people get this completely backwards. I have seen people launch a store in 1 week with almost no budget, and others spend thousands of dollars and never go live. So no, it's not just about how much money you have. It is about how fast you learn, how focused you are, and whether you are actually willing to hit publish. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what makes the difference, what I did right, what I wasted money on, and how you can move fast no matter what resources you're working with. When it comes to launching a print-on-demand store, we're working with 3 different resources: time, money, and most importantly, energy. Now, most people obsess over the first 2. Do I have enough time to be starting one of these stores? Do I have enough money to bring one to life? But honestly, it's energy that moves the needle, because I've seen people with almost no money and no experience launch a store in 1 week just because they showed up every single day with the focus and the urgency to get it done. And I have seen people with a $5,000 budget completely stall out for months because they couldn't make a decision or stay consistent. So here's how it breaks down. We can think about this almost like a seesaw, and we can look at the amount of time that we have versus the amount of money we are willing to put towards this. So if you're somebody who has a lot of time on your hands, but not a large budget, you can absolutely still launch fast. It's just the amount of energy that you are going to put into the time to get this up and running. Now we can go the other way. If you have a lot of money to be throwing at this, you can easily speed up the process of getting a store done, because you can hire designers to help with the learning curve of designing. You can hire somebody to set up the back end of your Shopify store, or somebody to set up your Shopify theme. These are all things that can speed up getting to launch. So it's almost like a seesaw. With the more money, you can spend less time getting your store up and running. But if you have less money, it's going to require more of your time to get everything set up and running. But really, the most important part comes down to the amount of energy that you're willing to put into your store and your brand. Really, either approach works. What matters is, are you using what you have to get to launch quickly? Because the real blocker isn't your resources, it's your resistance. It's overthinking, it's second guessing, the fear of doing it wrong. Hesitation is what truly will kill the momentum, and the momentum is the one thing that you can't outsource. You have to be the one pushing everything forward, whether you are hiring it out or you're doing it yourself. So here's the truth. The people who actually get their store live and start gaining traction, they're not the ones with the best niche or the most polished branding or the perfect game plan. They're the ones who make decisions and move. They don't wait for a lightning bolt of clarity or a step-by-step roadmap. They just commit to figuring it out all in motion. Meanwhile, most people are stuck in the prep mode for sometimes months. They will overthink trying 15 different logo versions, or they'll rewrite their about page over and over again, as if that's the one thing that's really moving the dial. They're working, but they're not launching. And here's why that's a trap. No matter how many courses you take or how many mock-ups that you create, you won't really learn until your store is live. Because once you hit publish, you get that real world feedback. You see what products people are interested in clicking on. You learn where did they drop off. You notice what messaging connects with the customer. And that's when you start making better decisions, not based off of the theory that you were trying to study and learn for months, but based off the real-time data. And the more you act, the more confident you start to become. So if you're stuck right now, ask yourself, am I working towards a launch or am I working to avoid it? Because honestly, perfection is going to be the trap. Progress comes from pushing through that messy middle portion. That is what separates fast launches from stuck dreamers. It's not the tools, it's not the timing, and it's not the talent. It's truly the momentum that pushes that person forward, whether that's pushing their team to get their designs ready or pushing yourself to learn how to design, how to get your store set up, etc. Now, before we dive into my story about how I launched, what I messed up, and what I would have fixed, I want to make sure that you have what you need in order to move forward. Whether you're time rich or you're ready to invest financially in building a store, I have built a free school community that's linked in the description below so that you can move much faster to getting your store up and launching. Inside of my school community, you'll have access to 51 plus hours of Shopify print on demand education. You will have learning learning tools and templates that you can use, and you'll have access to a community of other people who are driven to getting their store launched as quickly as possible right there beside you. It is completely free, and again, it's linked in the description below. Back to my story. When I first launched my first brand, it was in early 2020. I had honestly just set up my LLC in February, right before the pandemic hit. And if I hadn't already started, I definitely would have been delayed with the government shutting down and just everything kind of being a mess. But I already had everything in motion, luckily. So I doubled down with having a little bit of extra time on my hands with the pandemic. Now, week one was a lot of just back-end work. Once I had my EIN number, I set up my business credit cards. I set up my Shopify backend. I connected PayPal. I went to the bank and set up my business banking account. I kind of did all of those little businessy odds and ends of things. That was really week one of getting everything up and running. Now, once I was done, I made a decision to invest $10,000 from my savings into opening my business account. Now, to be clear, you do not need $10,000 in order to start one of these brands. That was the amount of money that I was willing to lose. I was willing to gamble it. I knew for a fact there was a chance I was never going to see that money again and I was never going to make it back. But I wanted to give myself the best chances to make this work without feeling the stress of I need to make every single dollar back. So I basically cut ties with that money. And it was a really hard, tough decision to do. But I knew with how quickly I wanted to move, I was going to need to make some certain investments in my business. The first being designers. I didn't want to take the time to really dive into learning Photoshop and Canva and doing all of the designing myself up front. Don't get me wrong, I was still the one making the mock-ups. I was still the one playing around in Canva, but I was not the main contributor to getting my designs ready for launch. I hired that out with designers. So that's where the first biggest chunk of money went to. Now, the next thing that I knew I was going to need a decent budget for was for testing in ads. And that was because I've never run ads before in my life. Yes, I could bounce ideas off of Chris and he was helping me a little bit, but basically in order for me to make this work, I needed to learn the ad account myself. So I needed to allow myself a pretty decent budget in order to have enough to test with. And again, not feeling like I had all this pressure on me of like, I need to make all this money back right now. Again, it was money I was completely okay with losing and never seeing again. Now, everything else, I completely bootstrapped myself. I was the one who customized my Shopify theme. I set up my entire backend. I uploaded all of my mockups to Shopify myself, and I even set up all of the designs in Printify. And speaking of Printify, I want to talk about why I've stuck with them ever since the beginning of my print-on-demand journey in 2020. Printify is how I have been handling my fulfillment for the last 5 years. I needed to move fast, and they made it super simple. What I really appreciated at the time and still to this day was the flexibility. You're not locked into one supplier. You can pick and choose the print provider based off of printing, product quality, location, and even the shipping speed of the printers. I mean, I could use one provider for my t-shirts, and if something didn't work out, I could quickly switch it to another provider without rebuilding my entire store. It also integrated directly with Shopify really smoothly, which made getting set up really easy. I could upload a design and sync it to my product page and have a design live within a few minutes. And if you're focused on margins, which honestly you should be, because that's the whole reason why we're running one of these brands, Printify Premium has some of the best base pricing in the print-on-demand space. I am constantly looking and researching the prices that I can get elsewhere, and nobody is able to compete with what Printify Premium offers. Now, the best part for you is that you can try Printify Premium for completely free for 1 month using the code WeScale. Just click the link in the description below, type in the code WeScale, and you'll get 1 month of Printify Premium for free. All right, now that we talked about Printify and how they were a huge part of getting my store up and launching fast, let's start talking about when my store actually went live. And this was when I started running the ads. Overall, the store did not do well. If you look at my first store financially, it was absolutely a flop. It did not make money. I lost a few $1,000s on it. And again, I was completely okay with that. The biggest issue that my store had was that it had no niche. I really didn't do any research. I was new to this whole print-on-demand thing. I didn't have a course to follow. I was just kind of winging it. And I picked designs that I liked with zero customer strategy. But what I did next was take everything that I learned from that first failure of a store, which now I don't look at it as a failure. It's a failure in the way that it lost money, but it was the biggest learning opportunity that I ever had because I was able to look back on everything that went wrong on that first launch. I had no niche. I really didn't do any customer research. I picked designs that only I liked, assuming other people would like them. So I was able to take everything that I learned from that first store and then just apply that to my next launch. And I didn't have to really tweak a lot of stuff on the site. It was already well optimized. So I just had to switch out the brand images. I had to switch out the products. Overall, the switch really didn't take that much time. So the next launch was basically doing research and getting those new designs uploaded to the site. So it still took some time, but it wasn't as tedious as that first time around. Now, looking back, it wasn't the money that made the difference. It wasn't the $10,000 that I was willing to put into this. It was truly my momentum of wanting to launch quickly. Launching quickly gave me real data, which gave me real direction. And if I had waited 6 months to truly get everything up and perfect and running, I probably would have overthought it and completely quit. The act of going live, the flaws and all, is what allowed me to build better the next time around. So here's what I'll leave you with. Ask yourself honestly, do you have more time or more money? Because that answer will help you determine how you should best launch. But always know that it is the amount of energy that you are putting into your launch that is truly going to make the difference. So if you really only have time, use that time wisely. Go through the tutorials, go through the learning process of designing as quickly as possible. And if you have money, absolutely use it to buy speed. Hire a designer that can help bring your designs to life. Hire somebody to help get the back end running if that's something that you feel you need to do in order to launch faster. But either way, use that energy to launch your store as quickly as possible because that momentum creates clarity. And that clarity is what builds a real brand. It doesn't matter if you have $500 or $5,000 to throw at this. It really all comes down to the energy that you put into getting your brand off the ground and running. And if you want support, please feel free to join my free school community that's linked in the description below so you can get access to trainings, tools, and people who are in the exact same position that you're in today. So use what you have, start where you are, and get it live. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel so that I can continue making content like this. Thanks, guys, and see you in the next one.